of course, versus the Queen of Pain, every time you throw a Siphon out, you kind of have to blink away. I feel like it's just one of those options that felt maybe they go for it, maybe they don't. They haven't in at least recent times, but that's where you do have this kind of question. What is our draw hero here? I feel like the easy one is probably just picking up the Lena versus the Quap. I think Lena is a hero that's been getting and was getting a lot of respect bans the first 2 days of this tournament, and then everybody kind of forgot about it because they were so busy banning Marcy out that there wasn't enough time for that ban to come through. But Lena's definitely the easy ban, I think, so far. Lena versus Void, well, that's a whole new can of worms, but I think that's where if you just want simply something for the lane, that's your easy pickup for Fel.
Mm-hmm. Gives him that lockdown, gives him the damage. Yes, you have concerns, as you said, what happens if she's caught in the chrono, but where the Winter Wyvern comes into play, right? Either the Curse or a Cold Embrace onto the Lena, and your Faceless Void doesn't really hit all that hard. Okay, well, maybe they are considering the maneuver you were talking about, ET. They take the Beastmaster here, who, if we're talking about the DP being a hero that a lot of teams are inflexible with, the Beastmaster kind of tops that because he just doesn't move from the 3 position.
Yeah, that's probably just going to be their lane now, which is also interesting to pair with the Tiny. And a part of me, I don't know, it's tough to say because Felt do have incredibly flexible heroes if they really want to get weird with it, even though Tiny as a core has all but died off with the way that Grow now functions. But that's where, if this is going to be a Beastmaster Tiny lane, that completely shifts what they were going to do versus the Faceless Void, because now instead of laning, you're going to be creep cutting, you're going to be pulling, you're going to be ignoring and avoiding the Faceless Void as opposed to just playing straight into him. I do like Beastmaster. The hero kind of all but died before, just because, of course, you don't have the Ags build anymore. You've got these bongos now that you get to play around. You're still pretty useful, though, when it comes to getting your Helm of the Overlord. It's just the problem of where do you grow now? Is your hero just entirely bound to getting Helm of the Overlord and a Blink Dagger, and then you're done? Kind of, but at the same time, that's still quite a lot to play for here. And with the Death Prophet, you've got a pretty terrifying push that DogChamp really aren't doing all too much to answer just yet here. And with both the supports being your Marcy and your AA, Creep Clear is not good right now. Even Queen of Pain, even though she's got the Scream, when it comes to walking up to waves and pushing them out, DogChamp are really not good at that in the slightest. It's almost to the point where I feel like if Felt get one more hero that just adds into this death ball, you've got some pretty big issues here for DogChamp. It's where you only have the Chrono as it stands right now, and then maybe a follow-up stun from the Marcy. It's where I feel like they maybe need just one more huge spell. And I'm trying to think because you want a big spell for Italiano Gangster. You can't pick really a hero like the Mars, though, because you've got this Marcy. You want a ranged hero for Italiano, but unless maybe it's the Enigma, but no, it's banned out first phase. It's like uh, there's so many heroes that you need kind of to get that AoE damage and control for DogChamp, but with the way that the lanes will shape up, it'll just end up feeling so weak.
Problem is, especially from what we've seen of Italiano in the past, a hero that you would feel comfortable here with would look like the Viper, and with the Marcian lane, the setup is nice, but the Viper doesn't do what you need it to, right? It doesn't give you the lockdown. I guess technically you have a little bit of area if you're throwing out your poison, but it's not quite what they're looking for. So I don't know. You mentioned the Mars. That doesn't feel great either, but they may not have a choice. The Night Stalker kind of in the middle, I suppose. There's a little bit of area control there to work with, but Night Stalker's very hit or miss at this point.
Yeah, and again, it's very good versus the Wyvern. It's good at scouting. You're going to see the entire team fight and what the structure that Feld are going for before anything starts. But you've also pretty much conceded the entire lane now at this point. You Feld have ultimate last pick here versus a Night Stalker, which is already not a good laner. They pick Ursa, they pick, well, I guess Ursa's banned already. They can pick Monkey King, also just super easy, just counter him directly in the lane, and then you're not too scared of anything. And actually, they go for the counter pick of the Faceless Void in the first phase, and that's going to be our second Wraith King of the tournament. But I don't know, Wraith King's a little bit tough. That's a hero that, again, you're just the natural reincarnation versus the Chrono. Of course, kind of a backbreaker for a lot of Faceless Voids, but you also kind of need to get pretty farmed pretty quickly. And I guess versus Italiana Gangster, you've got a pretty free early lane, but that's where I am a little bit concerned. And it looks like they will move things around just a bit, but yeah, I don't know. The Night Stalker, though, it just feels like such a bad lane. Of course, they got a lot of base damage. I feel like when it comes to just punching, you actually do kind of need to be careful, especially if you're the Wyvern. But every single time you go for a kill into the Wraith King, I feel like you throw a Wraithfire Blast out, you get Cold Embrace. It only has to be on the Wyvern. You can't really do anything versus the Wraith King.
Yeah, it's God, it's just gonna be so awkward in terms of their priorities have to be in multiple different places, right? And well, maybe if a Chronosphere is placed well, then sure you can hit all of those heroes, but then you're relying on Stonebank to basically win the fight for you right away, which maybe he can do, but will he do it every time?
Yeah, it's tough to say. I almost wish they picked Italiano, like, maybe his Tide was, like, the one hero that kept on sticking out in my mind, but, again, it's that weird balance with the Marcy that just doesn't feel right. Something feels a little bit wrong, but that's where, at the very least, coming into this game, you do have the Faceless Void. Worst case scenario, if Italiano Gangster can't be your stun, can't be your initiator, you've got your Faceless Void to fall back on. It's just, I don't know. It's tough to say. I definitely favor Felt coming into this game.
Well, Felt's first game of Pro Series 12, and looks like they've drafted themselves into a pretty solid position. We'll just have to see whether they can have the execution to match as we do get things underway. Smoke play out. Looking potentially like a fight here as opposed to maybe just the vision smokes we'd been seeing previously. Unskilled up anything just yet, though. Waiting to see who comes their way. They're going to run right into Italiano Gangster, though, who's standing on the high ground, so I'm going to say there's not much for them to do here. But look at Paradise. He just says, I'm going to go up there. Let's see what there is. They sent the boar forward first, so I suppose they did have maybe a half second of warning. But if there had been, like, 3 or 4 heroes on that high ground, Paradise had no way of knowing, so he's a bold man, pre-horn.
Yeah.
Speaking of bold, the Warden trying to see if there's any wards down here in the middle lane. Nothing at the moment. Sorts of vision out. Hawk deployed. They see Stonebank. They would have seen him no matter what. The question is, does he actually stick around to contest the rune? I don't really think he wants to. He took the time walk, but yeah, he just has to use that to actually fall back, so wishful thinking, I guess. They still get a 2-2 split, I believe, so not a whole lot lost.
Yeah, no. They get to kind of just get the reset. I find it very interesting that Italiano was not involved at all there. Of course, you've got the nighttime vision. You want to abuse it as much as you can. That's why usually the team with Night Stalker ends up being the one to smoke out or even delay smoke. But instead, he was just very defensively blocking and then kind of lost control of it. He's still blocking the range creep, but a little bit peculiar. But that's where I think him and Yarn really got to do a good job. Again, they just need to find the Wyvern. They can't let him get too much here, but this is a lane full of pain for at least one of those melee heroes. It's where the Wyvern, being the only range, is always going to do something annoying harass-wise.
Just kind of handed to him for free, and we'll see when and if Paradise feels like sort of getting involved with the first point in the Fire Blast. He did deploy it just in that early fight, so...
Ooh. Actually, a mistake from the Wyvern. He didn't get the block of the Large Camp in time. So now Yarn just ends up doing another 200 damage, and there are Pine Cones if they do need to go for the pull.
Oh, okay. They get the rebound into the Void. Is it enough, though? Not really. Wyvern's able to pop that Arctic Burn and get himself away. Meanwhile, Paradise did have to use Wraithfire Blast just to keep some of those heroes off of his teammates' back, ET, but the Wyvern's alive. You don't give up First Blood. He's got plenty of tangos, but gotta be careful, right? The Wyvern's not very survivable, and Italiano Gangster and Yarn are showing a 100% willingness to ignore the hell out of the Wraith King if they can put pressure on that Wyvern, but now that the Wyvern's gone, let's bully the Wraith King. They pull him back with the Dispose, and I think they get this. One more hit. He's not quite fast enough, and the Void was 1 second off its cooldown.
Yeah, just hit level 2 a little bit sooner, and well, now you're level 2 on Paradise, but in a situation where you want to get kind of aggressive here, you have to defensively take a point up in the Vampiric Aura. I mean, kind of sucks. And this was all just time kind of valuably spent by the Wyvern to unblock that small camp. That's why the Wyvern had to leave, but that's a little bit awkward. And now you're going to realize that those Pine Cones do exist. Unfortunately, they don't see it. Telling Gangster might get harassed here, but the wave is pushing into him.
Yarn jumps in with the rebound, and Yeah, not a fighting maneuver, just get the hell off of my core sort of move, and let's get the job done. Now they realize that this pull has happened, and if Paradise can snag some of these last hits, then I think this is still a beneficial play for them, but he's not really focusing on last hits right now. He gets pulled back, not into tower range, though. Yaren didn't quite have the dispose in the place that he wanted it, but all things considered, they still have to be relatively happy with the way that this lane is going, ET, and looking over to the other side of the map, we're not really seeing a whole lot of pressure being applied to Stonebank here either. So if you're DogChamp, this is a pretty solid start. All your cores are farming well.
Yeah, and it's good damage. It's a big wave underneath the tower, but problem is, it's a big wave, but a big wave without the flag bearer creep doesn't really end up being too much pressure for the carry, and with the flag bearer of his own, he's able to clear out at least half of these, then this is just free farm for the Faceless Void. They're not really able to shut him down very much in the slightest, and even though you are going for Boars, and I do like going for Boars against the AA especially, it just takes one slight positioning mistake from B9, and then you suddenly have a free kill, but does also mean that at those early levels, level 1 and level 2 boards die pretty quick to those chilling touch hands. It's just where that's just a little bit too much damage for the boards to deal with.
Oh. Good farm, no pressure in the top lane. Meanwhile, mid, good farm, no pressure onto RCY. Might be seeing a little bit of pressure down in the bottom lane as Italiano Gangster support stepped out for a moment, but they just don't quite have enough. It's one stun and the slow, and the Night Stalker at this point is tanky enough. First Bracer is up for him, so that's why Yaren feels like he can leave the lane for a bit, maybe secure the rune for his teammate, and then come back. And Italiano Gangster, sure, he took some damage, but he should be okay. Paradise, though, he is taking quite a bit more damage, but Italiano Gangster needs to be careful. He's only got 2 wand charges. He is going to be able to walk away. They would love to go back in. They get the Void down. Yaren's trying to just punch his way to victory. I don't know. Rebound in. Okay, there's the stun, and there's the dispose. So I think someone's going to die here in exchange. Yeah.
Oh, both?
Wyvern gets 1. Wyvern gets 2. Okay. Nicely done. Not before they give up first blood, but that's a pretty solid response.
No, that's fantastic. And of course, you lose the Wraith King, but now this entire wave is just going to be forced underneath the tower. Pretty happy with that. And then other side, yeah, the Void is just a little bit too powerful. And again, they haven't really been able to get control of this large camp, which I think it's got to be up to the Warden to get those D-blocks going, because with the wave so far underneath the tower, the AA, which should be your play, is just not dying. He's just sitting underneath his tier 1 and sapping a little bit of XP away from his Void, but at the same time, as long as you're not feeding, you want the AA there just kind of being a turret, just making the harass happen.
He's constantly taking out this boar, as you mentioned, the chilling touch, just helping him out there, so yeah, as you said, a little bit of experience is being taken away, but Stonebank is free farming under tower, the boar is not a threat, the Ancient Apparition is not a liability, and lane's really about as perfect as you could ever imagine it to be. As Yaren dispose first. Ooh, okay, rebound doesn't quite connect, so RCY doesn't quite want to chase it down. I think if they had the lockdown, he blinks in for the scream, but without it...
Oh!
Okay, wow, I mean, Solji just walked up. I didn't think he was going to do it. Apparently neither did RCY, but 3 points in Crypt Swarm and no raindrops, so he's just dead.
Yeah, no, he didn't have a raindrop. He had a 9-stick and a Fairy Fire, but just didn't expect the damage plus the right click. That must have been, I want to say, single digits of damage off, because that's a kill that just did not look like it was going to work. But, okay, a lane that previously you were kind of getting bopped in if you were Solji. RCY has been doing a fantastic job, at least just focusing on the denies, but yeah, that is pretty unfortunate.
Just imagine the team comms, RCY just telling his teammates, it's like, it's fine, they can't kill me. Oh. Oops. Now Yaren, okay. Rebound, dispose, TP coming in from the Ancient Apparition. They're going to try and get something here. They would love to actually chase Paradise down, but they don't quite have the lockdown or move speed for that. So they'll take the kill onto the Wyvern, and a Wyvern whose net worth, was bumped up a little bit after finding those 2 kills. So a little bit more valuable than your run-of-the-mill support kill. Ties us up at 3-3, and now the supports are on the move. This Obs Ward, though, scouts this out the whole way through. B9 at least takes it down, but they're not really going to be sneaky at this point. But they've already made the move, ET, so... I mean, should they try something anyway, or do they just go back to their lanes?
Yeah, no, it's a little bit tough, and I'm looking over at the Void, who's now kind of been hung out to dry. I feel like B9 is a little bit dissatisfied with his rotation. He hasn't really been able to accomplish very much, and didn't contribute very much to the bottom kill either. Now you got Yarn top, but oh no!
This feels like a trap. Yeah, Yarn's in trouble. He's going to get taken down immediately. Stonebank, though, is falling back. Chrono's available. He's just going to try and TP out, actually. Okay. Why not? All the lockdown had been used. He TP's bottom, and this would be huge if they could jump onto the Wraith King before he even has a chance to get that point up in his ult, but no. Paradise. If your Faceless Void TP's away right in front of you, you can probably guess where he's going to go.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit too smart. They get this tier 1 going,
They're still going
very quickly. He is mid, though, yeah. Went to the Quap's lane, and yeah,
Ooh.
Here's your Sonic Wave, and the TPs just feel a little bit hollow here. I don't know, just showed a little bit too far up the river. I feel like if he's just simply taking it underneath the tower, then that's a little bit too difficult of a jump to be made, but pretty big mistake, because now the trade, they had to use Exo for that top tier 1 to get things moving with how well the Void's lane was going, and now Void gets the trade out, has almost unrequited free farm, has a Midas almost coming out on the courier. His game is completely fine.
He was already farming well in lane. They try to take that lane away, but can't actually deny him the farm, so DogChamp are feeling good, and at this point, ET, they're feeling good up 2k. We haven't seen much from this Night Stalker, right? Italiano is going to start getting things going here as, well, that's a problem. He'll spot the Wyvern. He'll Cold Embrace himself to buy some time. That does mean that the actual Cold Feet activates onto him, and yeah, he's dead. Cold Embrace allows him to die a few seconds later than he would have otherwise, but still a kill, and now this Night Stalker might start to become a problem.
Yeah, and you've got the Dark Ascension. They're looking mid. They want their level 6s so badly on these supports, though, before they make a crazy dive happen on a hero like the DP, but they do have to be fairly cautious here. That's where, unfortunately, both supports need that tome so badly that neither one can really afford to blink, but it's also with the Beastmaster coming in, though. This is going to be a pretty nice timing for Felt. If they can force out that Dark Ascension, then they know that they can take the follow-up fight pretty much for free. But there has to be at least a little bit more of a defense here from DogChamp.
That was an interesting avalanche. I'm not even sure that hit any creeps. The Warden just kind of drops it down and walks away. But at this point, Felt, so many heroes mid. They've got to try and do something. They've got Exo back up now, so that could just be the forcing move. They don't even need it, actually.
Yeah, and this is the problem of their lineup. They don't have wave clear. The tome is flying out for the Marcy. They want to make a jump as soon as that tome hits, but it's going to be too slow. And again, without the wave clear, they can't do anything versus the boars, versus the creeps. The Quap can't walk up far enough to get those Scream of Pains going, so that just happens. Ooh, trying for the toss? No, it's back to the high ground.
Yeah, I think he might have been able to get it, but what would the cost have been at that point, right? So they play it safe, and honestly, I mean, they got what they wanted. They're on their opponent's side of the map. They've taken this jungle farm away. They've taken a tier 1 tower, so, you know, don't go swinging for the home run at this point when things could still turn against them. They're going to take it a little bit slower, ET, but that just feels so much safer for them. Uh-oh. He's getting punched to death here by Yarn. Actually, I say punched to death. Yarn really does not do much damage right now. But here comes the reinforcements. Unfortunately, for Yarn, it's reinforcements for the other side as the Ice Blast does fly through. So too does the Winter's Curse. This is turning into a bit of an awkward exchange. Italiano Gangster does manage to get off the silence. They got the Exorcism, but oh my god, he actually got stunned up by the Cold Feet. So RCY tried to come in on the back line, but it's not enough damage to actually get the kill. This fight is getting so very strained. Italiano Gangster was able to survive that initial wave of damage. Now he turns around, chasing down Fade. He's running out of time, though, on the ult, and yeah, without the Ascension, he is a very slow boy with no damage. And Solji, he actually can't catch up. His boots aren't upgraded here, so that is going to be the end of the fight, ET. It's a weird-looking one, but DogChamp take the 2 for 1.
Yeah, and now you know that the Night Sucker is effectively just going to be a creep here. This is
Oh,
unfortunate for B9. Invis Rune on the Wraith King. Yeah, it might need the Ava still, but should be 100% a dead Ancient Apparition. But yeah, that fight is pretty peculiar. Stonebank still doesn't want to get involved, so he doesn't want to help his teammates at all. Does mean that he is incredibly farmed on the Faceless Void. He's just been staying bottom pretty much the entire time, but that was also the commitment of Exorcism. Not on Roche, not on any buildings. I feel like maybe it's not the worst case scenario for them. It's kind of that weird EXO where it's still level 1. You're not strong enough to do Roche or even threaten it just yet. You're just kind of getting it on CD, but at the same time, with how long these ultimates are on both sides, there are going to be these awkward pauses where both teams commit something, now nobody can do anything. And then we just start farming, which of course does feel like it favors Stonebank just a little bit more. Jump though.
trying to make something happen. There's the Ice Blast. No, there isn't. It's well off the mark, as Bloody Nine was delayed by the fact that Fade was in his face, killing him off. But it might still turn into a trade-off there. The Winter Wyvern will fall. 1 for 1 on the supports. Yarn's looking to TP away. He should make it out. RCY... Did the courier just... Yes, it did. Courier spots him. What the heck is going on here? There's a silence. RCY, there's the blink, but it's a blink right into Fade. What is this? RCY had a half dozen opportunities to get out of there, but he just keeps on sticking around, and eventually he's punished.
Well, I suppose looking over at his TP time, it would have been, you know, another 20 seconds of running around. But yeah, that was a pretty lame death. And again, you know, you can't overemphasize. This is just time for Stonebank to get his farm, do whatever he wants on the Faceless Void. He's got the Maelstrom already, 14 minutes in. Does a lot of damage, actually. But I think more importantly, while they were making that wildly active play, you also have Italiano Gangster, who was helpless the past 2 minutes because he had used his ulti during daytime, now has a full Blink Dagger. So he can really start to get these team fights going, especially onto that Wyvern. If you can take him out at the beginning of one of these team fights, then Felt kind of have to be careful.
Okay. 4-man smoke. And to make something happen. Fade is the most immediate target they could jump on. They'll miss with the rebound, though, and yeah, with the TPs coming in. Uh-oh. It's a problem. Centaur comes in, gets the stomp. Yarn's gonna get punished. He just gets taken down, and well, that's maybe trying to do a little bit too much. I think he might have just overestimated the range of rebound on that. So, level 1, not really able to do a whole lot with it. The good news, though, his death is not a massive setback, right? It's not going to hurt them too much. He's already back up in 5 seconds, but they're going to fight without him. Italiano Gangster jumps in, silence onto Wyvern. About as easy a kill as you can get. Tried to turn around for a curse, but wasn't able to do so in time.
Yeah, now they get to put a lot of pressure on this mid tower. The tail end of that Dark Ascension card in as well. And any fight that they know that they can get the Wyvern dead to rights, it's a fight that Stonebank is going to be at least mildly interested in, but there's going to be a decent amount of damage. And actually, another fight going on down south.
Yeah, they want Yarn. They don't get him. He's able to jump away. Stonebank drops the Chrono into the Ice Blast right in Solji's face. And, well, that works out perfectly for DogChamp. They bait Yarn out. He draws away 2 or 3 heroes. Jumps out. He's fine. That leaves Solji alone under the tower. It does mean that their chances of getting this tower go down a little bit. I don't think they're going to finish it, but it's a very valuable kill, right? You take Exo off the board there for a few seconds.
Yeah, now you're just back to farming. Of course, now if Felt can somehow manage to get to that top side of the map, even though it's going to be a little bit awkward, seeing that the Wraith can just TP'd away, this is where they can force Roche. It's where you maybe want to give the Death Prophet just a little bit more time to actually get that second level of Exorcism, but this is your moment. They don't have Chrono, they don't have Dark Ascension, they have no real easy way to scout unless B9 just walks up and pretty much kills himself to get the Vortex, but okay, they'll force it. Still level 1 Exo does not feel nice, but just because it doesn't feel nice doesn't mean it's not going to happen, and this is just a free Roche.
They're getting it pretty quickly, so... well, it's gonna work out. I don't think DogChamp even really suspect. B9 could try for a blind Ice Blast in there, but there's no reason for him to think this is happening, so... Roche gets taken. Aegis into the hands of Solji, and I do want to ask you, ET, this build from Fade. We were talking about the Beastmaster's popularity kind of shifting in recent times. Got the Dom Helm early because it is still Beastmaster, but drums, Blink Dagger queued up, so it's not just that Helm of the Overlord rush for him, as the Warden is almost certainly dead. But what do you think? I mean, is the early utility going to be more beneficial for them?
Yeah, it's kind of tough to say because both the Death Prophet and the Wraith King just benefit so much from the Vlads that it is a little bit sad to see him not go for the Helm of the Overlord, but I understand that the reason he's going it for it is simply to give them kill potential on the Queen of Pain. Without it, the Quap is just a little bit too elusive, and I think that's really the only reason why he's going for this type of build. Not to mention, Boots of Bearing are actually quite valuable in this game when you really only have the stun coming out from the Faceless Void and the Marcy. Everything else is just a slow or a mini stun. So if you get that, and I can only assume he's going to look for either that or BKB after his Blink Dagger, well, then you just walk out of a lot of situations, and I think that's going to be massively useful.
See how much use they get out of it as Yarn and Italiano trying to get away. Yarn's not going to make it out just yet, though. There's the Ava into the tossback, into the axes. And, okay. Better safe than sorry. Roar coming in as well. Ice Blast. Well, it hits the boar. So, you know, not a complete whiff, but nothing of value being hit there as... Did Solji? Yeah, he just walked past Italiano Gangster. They were each on opposite sides of this tree line, so... Let's pass each other by. That's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, pretty funny stuff, but also want to kind of get on their next objective here. And it's about to be daytime in a minute, so that's where DogChamp really need to look for their plays kind of few and far between. Felt, though, they want to get onto their next Exo target. Exo just came back off cooldown. I think right now the DP might just preemptively have an Aeon Disc queued up. We'll have to see. The VIP booster can only go into so many different items, but that's where I don't think they want to pop the Exo on this bottom tier 1. They would be okay with mopping up the tower, but that's where I do think they want to finally get onto that mid tier 2 is probably the best objective they can look for, but that's where the longer they kind of spend deciding what they want to do. Oh, and they find the Void, but this is still just farm. Stonebank's just ignoring them. He has a BKB. Every time I look back to Stonebank, he just has another item.
Yeah, BKB picked up. Looking for the upgrade now into the Maelstrom. Meanwhile, Felt will get this tower. Tier 1 taken down. Didn't have to pop the Exo. Do they use it for a Tier 2 push, though? They've got so many creeps that maybe they don't have to. There's going to be the drums activated as well, and yeah, they are just melting this tower.
Yeah, and, well, you can ask for a better threat here. There's no glyph. They glyph that, so this tier 3 should just eat all of this damage from the Exo.
Okay.
Kind of feels like a little bit of a mistake, because we're here to play. This is all just going to be done by the creeps and the Death Prophet, who still has Aegis for another minute. Oh, and here we go.
He's going to try and jump
On
the back line,
Wyvern.
getting onto the Wyvern first. Silence the Chrono. The Roar is not onto Stonebank, so he's just going to continue to hack away with that damage, and well, the Wyvern does get taken down, but there's an immediate buyback, and at this point, DogChamp, they're kind of backing off, or maybe they're not. RCY, there was an attempt with the ult, but it didn't really do enough to kill anybody of significance. They did find the Warden, but they need so much more. They're trying for Paradise, but he's armlet toggling his way through this. Just don't really know if there's a fight for them to take. Meanwhile, Italiano Gangster, he's trying to get the Wyvern again. Okay. That's a dieback in there. Nice play to start. Solji now getting caught on the front line without his backup. And DogChamp, you know, ET, it looked like they were kind of just flailing in the early stages, but Felt almost give them a helping hand, and now that's a pretty clear-cut win.
Yeah, and I think it all goes back to the Roar landing on really no one that really mattered in that team fight, as well as I think as soon as that Dark Ascension's popped, you need to realize if we just walk away right now, if we drag them towards our own vision, well, suddenly they don't have a Night Stalker. We could just come back. We might have used Exo already, but we already got the tier 3. Instead, they just end up losing so much more on the retreat. And then Italiano Gangster, just knowing that the Wyvern's returning to the fight, barely gets the kill on him as it turns into day. This is a punish, though. I feel like he might need to get tossed out, but might just be killed instead. Yeah, Yarn tried, but there's just not enough time.
Fade's able to clean that up, and yeah, they needed that, right? They have to try and get something to just stave off a potential counterplay from DogChamp after winning that fight, so slows things down just a little bit, and they're looking for a little bit more, actually. The Warden's going to get in, has to use the Tumbler's Toy to make it happen. Okay, Oh, okay. That's very fair. Paradise just crits Bloody Nine out of the server, and oh, got an opportunity to push again. Tier 2 mid under attack, and they got through it pretty quickly the first time around in the bottom lane. They should get it quickly here as well, but they are splitting their focus as they saw Yaren. Siphon is actually not enough for the kill,
Ooh.
but there's the Crypt Swarm.
Oh, that's super sick. And well, now, okay, we're immediately back into the high ground. 4 seconds on Exo, and we have an Aeon disc on the DP. So unless you have a nullifier in queue here, which Stonebank just simply doesn't, and again, it's just the Warden, and that's BKB forced on Void. They might just start to ping the high ground, honestly. That is a huge force out. Warden just keeps on finding picks for this team.
He went from this slow, stumbling start. The second he finds that Blink Dagger, suddenly he's absolutely everywhere he needs to be. So, the initial misses, I think, were just because he doesn't have the confidence. Now that he's got a Blink, he says, screw it, I'm going to jump in, and if he jumps too far, then he dies, but who cares? It's a position for Tiny. Instead, the risks are paying off, and feeling very good about their position, which does feel strange, considering they're still down a couple thousand in terms of the net worth here, but see, you take a look at the actual net worth chart here on the left, the entirety of that lead is solely in Stonebank's hands.
Yeah, it's all just a Void, and again, kind of ballooning the net worth at the top. There are some very important items all in queue for the rest of DogChamp, though. Just finished up the BKB on the Queen of Pain, so looking at the shard for her, but BKBs on both the Marcy and the Night Stalker. Gonna give them a whole lot more confidence to play around, but oh, again, they're just finding picks, and that's the Blink Dagger. We will be able to escape on the Marcy, but that's where I just feel like there are many more natural initiators on the Felt side where, again, having this Night Stalker off lane, it's just the Faceless Void or the Marcy. And if Yarn's not comfortable to start off these little skirmishes, then it is just Stonebank that has the big stun.
Got a Force Staff up on the Wyvern now as well, so the repositioning, or honestly, seeing the way these last couple of fights have gone, I wouldn't be surprised if the Wyvern uses the Force Staff sort of aggressively even to try and force someone else out of position as opposed to moving in himself, but we'll see. Italiano, there it is. Silence onto 2. Chrono not out in time. Instead, it's the Winter's Curse, the toss, actually throwing him away, and now all of a sudden, Italiano, he doesn't really have as much backup as he thought he would. He's going to try to push in, but there's Paradise jumping forward to get the stun onto the Faceless Void. They're going to take him down. Still no Chrono deployed. It's starting to get ugly, but RCY comes in. Sonic Wave onto multiple heroes. It's a nice bit of damage, but they need these kills. Who can they find? Fade is going to fall. They took down the 2 supports, but with Paradise coming back up, it's probably time for them to leave. Can those ghosts finish Italiano? No, they can't. He's able to blink away and fall back. And, well, that wasn't bad, DT, right? I mean, that's 3 kills, and you didn't actually use Chrono.
Yeah, and of course, didn't get to use Chrono or his BKB, so he gets to have a 7-second for the next team fight. But yeah, I think they did a very nice job blowing him up. They do give him an opportunity to Chrono after the Wyvern, and oh, RCY.
Oh, he gave him the rope-a-dope. Can he still get out, though? He's silenced now, and this is going to be very awkward. Do they have a follow-up stun? Yes, they do. RCY can't blink away. Nifty moves around the tree the first time around, but he just can't outrun Solji.
Yeah, and honestly, in that team fight, it really is kind of get carried by RCY just a little bit with the damage he's actually able to do, but I think now it is nighttime. This is a very important timing for DogChamp to just get whatever they can, and then hope that they can get that next Roshan while it is still during that night, but that's where I felt don't want to push things forward too much. They could just decide to wait. I still can't believe that DogChamp decided to go for that smoke with both their BKBs cooking, and Italiano, well, gonna get chain stunned, Avatos, super dead. Yarn's able to run away at the very least, but doesn't matter too much. It's just a pick. It's just golden XP. He'll still be awake for that Roche spawn.
Yeah, you can give up a handful of those, right, and still sort of be in the clear, but can't afford to make a habit of it. Can't afford to let Stonebank be the one who gets hit either. Some of these other heroes, sure, like Bloody Nine, for example, as he is just going to get sort of bullied up and taken down, but it's going to... Actually, he's going to be cutting it kind of close here on that death timer, but he doesn't need to be in the fight. He just needs to be alive to get an Ice Blast off, and I think they'd still be okay.
Yeah, exactly. And they're getting kind of bottled and pushed back into the base, and very nice lane wards actually on both the side lanes from Felt, just to see these heroes that are trying to make these split push plays happen. As well, Fade almost died for that Titan sliver, but he is able to run that one out. But 14 seconds on the Roche. We've got the Wyvern in the pit already, waiting for it to respawn, and then suddenly, oh, we've got another fight on our hands here. And then 2 minutes until daytime. It's where you really want to get this engagement rolling if you're DogChamp. You do not want to stick Italiano Gangster in the day where he doesn't have his ultimate. But also, it's a matter of whether or not Felt really want to push the envelope here. It's another situation where you kind of want to get level 18, but the jump, Wyvern,
There's that force staff. There's another force staff. Still not enough separation, though. Double force is not enough, but Soldier's coming in with the Exo, and they're going to try and turn. They got the Roar into Stonebank. The follow-up stun is going to be there, and they've taken him out. RCY comes in. Sonic Wave not as well placed that time. The damage just really wasn't in. And this is starting to get a little bit awkward. There is a buyback on the Faceless Void, and he still hasn't used his damn BKB, ET, so he could get back in with the BKB and the Chrono. Especially considering RCY, yeah, he was starting to run out of time on his BKB, but they're not pulling the trigger. Instead, it's Italiano Gangster who comes in. They find the kill onto the Warden, but it's going to cost the Night Stalker his life. This fight is getting all over the place. They will find a kill. Fade gets taken down. Silence, though, keeping him from blinking away. Silence, stun, damage, kill.
yeah, and now Paradise can just go in, finish the Roche, probably give it just over to the Death Prophet again, but that was a terrible situation where because they have to commit over their ultimate on that Night Stalker, you can't just walk away from the Exo anymore, because if you make that disengage happen, you wait another 40 seconds, then it's daytime, and then Italiano is just the melee creep. And even though this Roche is not fast, it ain't pretty, it is pretty inevitable here. I think that's also going to be the Ag Shard gifted over to Solji, which is just going to be fearsome, I guess, quite literally. But no, this is very annoying. And maybe the Wraith King Aegis.
Okay.
Not too shabby.
One life down. Interesting attempt from Yarn. Yeah, there's your BKB, but the Chrono's going to be deployed. I don't know if that's a good idea, though, because that is going to happen. But they're still pushing for it. Paradise, hold embraced. He's got the armlet. He could try to toggle that on, but I think he's still going down. They find the kill. They'll get Solji's first life, too. And ET, I mean, hold on a second, because this is doable. If they can kill him again... Got the slow. They need a bash or two, but there's going to be the Aeon Disc popped. They're going to get the dispose as well, pulling him back into the fight. TP, can he get away? No, he can't. I think that was Stonebank with the bash, and all of a sudden... Well, they honestly may have just blown it.
Yeah, they just stick around in too easy of an opportunity for Stonebank to just TP in on the outpost. And I think even though it felt like a pretty meaningless ulti from Bloody Nine, it actually ends up being enough. And they're going. Where's the Tiny? There you go.
Okay. Old move, but he knew he had the backup, and now they can't track down Yarn as Italiano Gangster. I mean, he's coming in, but does he have the damage to do this by himself? Well, with the Ice Blast, he sure does. Or maybe not. Cold Embrace buying time. Not enough, though.
You do got to be careful, though, because that was Italiano's second forced move here. Now he's a creep. He's going to be daytime as soon as his ulti expires here. Got a few seconds to put some more damage on that tier 2, but that's where, honestly, if we're Felt here, you've got about an 80-second window now to run down a tower where they're almost going to have Chrono, but they aren't going to have any involvement from Italiano Gangster. If they don't want to go for that, they could just look to finish up maybe some more items on the Wraith King before they really want to tempt fate, but honestly, neither are bad options.
Right. Let's see what they want to do here. Solji just TP'd his way mid, so he at least would prefer to push out, but he's a Death Prophet. That's kind of the way that he works, but I don't know. Looking at Felt, AC for the Wraith King next up. DP doesn't have anything huge. Fade is looking for some extended cast range. Do any of these feel like significant game changers for them, ET, or are these just sort of incremental increases?
Of course, the AC is probably the most impactful one here, but I still really don't like Fade's build. I feel like it's neither of the very good styles where you don't have a Wraith Pact, you don't have the Helm of the Overlord, you aren't building for those Boots of Bearing, you're not playing like a Visage. I think, again, it is just them still feeling like there's a little bit of a struggle when it comes to keeping on top of that Queen of Pain, and it's not like RCY is going for a Lincoln Sphere either. He's kind of tempting fate on his own side of things, but That's where maybe he feels like Stonebank with the Lincoln should be able to cover both of them, worst case scenario. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like Fade is really struggling to remain kind of relevant here. I feel like even though he's getting a lot of farm, and he is farmed, he's the third highest net worth in the game. I just don't know if enough of it is turning into very impactful things for him. It's also where, again, more time, the Midas hero is going to start to kind of out carry you. It's also where I think you do kind of wish that Paradise had maybe, I don't know, another 2,000 net worth, because this would have been go time, but instead it just ended up being farm time.
Oh, Shiva's finished off by RCY, so a little bit more annoying, a little bit harder to kill. I think maybe the more important aspect with that pickup.
Smoke again.
See where they can go with this. All the ults are available. Not onto anything directly from Italiano Gangster, but he's just looking for a bit of a cutoff angle here, and he's coming in at a nice angle to hit up Paradise. Is that the hero that they can kill quickly? Holy... Yeah, okay, they get through a lot of his health pretty quickly. Yarn popping the BKB. Italiano Gangster, meanwhile, on the backline, trying to break these heroes up. The Chronosphere does go down. The Wyvern will fall. Fade now going to get hit up by the Ice Blast, so he's going down as well. They would love more, though. There's going to be RCY in onto Paradise. It's enough to get through the first... Actually, that was the second life. So Paradise is just out of the fight. Solji dead. Wyvern gone. They're doing it. One more kill in the Warden. You are not getting out of that fight. Full 5-man wipe. Not a single casualty on the DogChamp side, and it's clean.
No, it's perfectly executed. Stonebank found exactly who he wanted. He didn't chrono his own Night Stalker either there, even though it felt like the Wyvern needed to be stuck in there. But Italiano Gangster says, no, I've got the Wyvern. Let me do this. Kills the Wyvern. And then on the way back, the walk from that Wyvern ended up getting clipped by the Sonic Boom from the Queen of Pain. I mean, it's just a terrible turn of events. And now, of course, you're back on the aggressive, and it's about to be nighttime. Your moment there on Felt, where it felt like they maybe should have just ran up mid, is completely gone. Now they're going to have to wait for another 5-minute interval before they have to really be afraid of anything on the DogChamp side of things.
Used up just about every ult they have, but that's what you want the ults for. That's the dream fight, and I said 5-man wipe. It was 6, because the Wyvern bought back and then ended up dying again, so 6 for nil. They take tier 2s, or I think it was actually just the 1 tier 2, but they could get a second if they want to rotate bot as Fade. Roar onto B9. It would be a nice kill if they could get it, but they're not getting it as quickly as they thought they could, so they have to back away. And that's starting to become concerning, ET. If you can't get a quick and easy kill onto the Ancient Apparition, who can you kill?
Oh, and now I'm looking across all of the items the DogChamp just built up after that fight. You're going to have triple Lincoln Sphere. You're looking for a refresher on Stonebank. It's where this game is really starting to kind of ball out of control here. And then you look over the other side, you see Solji sitting on 5,000 gold. I guess he's just going to buy a Shiva's Guard, but it feels like in a lot of these team fights, it's very hard to play Death Prophet without the BKB. There's just so many things getting thrown out on the ground near you. You're getting cold feet. You're getting pushed around. The silences that are just kind of fading in and out. It's a very difficult game to play, even though, of course, you don't always want to buy BKB versus Faceless Void. It just feels like at this point, he just needs to let himself continuously do the damage, and Chivas kind of helps you with that, but I just don't know if it's going to be the end-all, be-all, as, again, it looks like this game is going to slow down until the Roshan becomes that next objective, but DogChamp just have so many items now to play around with.
It's built up this advantage and felt, well, they have the means at their disposal, right? You still got Roar, you've still got Winter's Curse, you still have a lot of damage out from Paradise, but it becomes so much more important how they position as Italiano Gangster. Look at him go! Marches his way forward. Wyvern is the first target, as it has been in every single fight. They find that first kill. What else can they do here? They're breaking up their opponents. Stonebank did just get hit up, though, by that Roar. That means that RCY didn't have any backup, so they'll finish him off too, but there's the Chrono. They're going to lock down Solji. Ice Blast is coming in. There's Solji down. Fade fell as well. Paradise needs help getting into his base as he'll activate the BKB. He'll blink himself away, so... Well, there's your good news. The Wraith King lives. The bad news is DogChamp are knocking on your front door, and they're not going away anytime soon.
Yeah, and even though you get the pop of the Aeon Disc there, you dive so quickly to that AA Blast. There's not much you can do there. They try to keep Stonebank out of that fight for so long with the Beastmaster, but and he just ends up being just more food for the Void. And we'll have to see now because after this Rax, I feel like they could swing for bottom, honestly, depending on how much they're kind of afraid of these respawn timers. And Yarn, got kind of left.
Core staff. Rebound.
Oh,
Oh,
he's
he
back
just
in.
refreshed. There's going to be the Chrono into another Ice Blast, and that is brutal. Both of the supports will go down. He was waiting for that exact moment, ET. The second he got the refresher, as they were pushing that middle lane, it was delivered out to him. And now if you're Felt, you're just completely staggered here. Paradise is up, and Fade's coming back in, but without the supports, you don't have as much lockdown as you would need to even try this.
You've
Oh
got
my
Bion
God.
Tiny, so they will do it, but it feels pretty ugly here. And, well, how
Toss
many Lincoln
back.
Spheres do you get through?
Stonebank is low. Can they actually kill him, though? No. He time walks away. Yarn, meanwhile, goes for the Dispose, pulling back the Wraith King. He'll force staff himself away from the initial stun, but it does still connect. So Yarn will fall, and yeah, okay. DogChamp saying, maybe we got a little bit greedy there. Let's just fall back. Not in time to actually save the ranged racks, though, so... Well, there's something. For Feld, if you're looking for silver linings, it's not much, but it's better than nothing.
We'll have to see now, though, because Roche, again, incredibly early respawn, 45 seconds on the timer, and they will start to scout it out here, and then you don't have Chrono for another 60 seconds, and I just feel like these early Roche respawn timers end up mattering so much because DogChamp can't contest because they don't have Chrono, so this is just going to be free for a team that is definitely on the back foot. There's just not much they can do. There will be the AA Blast. They want to fight for this, but it's so fast. Where's Italiano?
He's got a
He's gonna run
nullifier.
in.
He
got
takes it. He's got the Aegis, and now the fight. There's the Sonic Wave being deployed, pushing these heroes back, and they immediately lose that Wyvern again. Italiano Gangster, though, yeah, he is going to lose that life, but hey, that's what you pick up the Aegis for. Meanwhile, in the pit, Paradise running out of time in a BKB, getting bashed to hell, taken down as he already had used his ult. He is dead. Solji in trouble, even through the heal from the Exo. It doesn't matter. They find that kill, they find Fate as well, and... Italiano Gangster, I mean, that might just be the play that wins them the game.
Yeah, and honestly, with that, they wouldn't have been able to contest it if they did that any slower. It would have been daytime. It would have been right now if they decided to just give it up, but they decided to make it work. That was a 30-second window where they can just make it happen, and now they're on the tier 4s. They're playing as if their opponents don't have buyback. They're going to get at least one out here, and there is still Curse, but no, he got 3!
3-man Chrono, Ice Blast coming in, Fade dead, Wyvern dead, Warden falling back, GG called. DogChamp. Well, ET, they got their first win of Pro Series yesterday. They double their win count in their first appearance here today, so... Well, looking pretty good. It may not have been the cleanest game in the world, but at the end of the day, they don't ask how, they ask how many.
Yeah, and again, this question is going to continue to be proposed here. Do you have to ban out the Faceless Void first phase? Which team is actually allowed to pick it up here? I just feel like this was way too much. And of course, Italiano Gangster and Stonebank played so well in this game, but Italiano, each time he finds the Wyvern cannot play Dota. It's just so easy for him. And even though it felt weird, it felt like the lanes weren't going so well, I feel like Felt as well just weren't able to push their advantage that they very justifiably had. I don't think they played nearly clean enough as they should have versus the Night Stalker. And then the outstanding performances on top of it. It's just a little bit too much to do. And I feel bad because RCY was no slouch either. He was kind of just doing the boring job, I think, of the cores. Was not as flashy, was not as maybe cool looking as Italiano and Stonebank, but the Tricore really never fell off. It never felt like anybody was kind of slacking behind here, where I can't say the same thing about Felt. I think they were definitely kind of a little bit slow this time around, and for how farm Solji is, I just feel like a lot of the net worth across, honestly, all 3 cores on the Felt side just wasn't really that impactful.
Yeah, they didn't quite meet where we thought they would be for the timings that they were at, right? Which, as you said, was just part of the reason why it felt slow. They should not have been as weak in comparison to their opponents as they were, but that's what happens. DogChamp take advantage. They get the win, and Felt... Honestly, ET, they lose this game, but I asked you at the top of the draft, where do we set the expectations for this squad? This is at least a decent fight, and I think maybe something that they could build on moving into game 2.
Yeah, for sure. And at a point in this game, they were the team that was winning. They were
True.
the team that was pushing forward. I think just a kind of misplay of that mid game, something that we're gonna talk about as a team. You're going to try and figure out, but I definitely feel like some things really did start going right for them. It's just a matter of whether or not they can kind of switch out a few parts and then get that same idea coming into game two here.
Hmm.